I'm going to talk about fake news. Now, fake news is false information that is presented as if it is true. Quite often, fake news is disguising opinion as fact and it's designed to sort of manipulate us. Nowadays, it's can be euphemistically called news entertainment, and this is partly to get around the regulations. And propaganda is also associated with this, where you're presenting one side of an issue as if it's the only side and using the fake news to push a particular political agenda. So, understanding the difference between fact and opinion will help you to think critically and avoid being misled. The advent of social media has really made it easy for anyone to post stories and making and spreading false information much easier. But it's really important to understand the distinction between misinformation, which is information that is spread unintentionally, and disinformation, that is the purposeful spreading of false information, normally for political gain. So, an example of misinformation was during the COVID time when the virus came along. We didn't know very much about it, and the politicians and scientists were trying to convey really complex public health messages in a simple way that we could understand, but also basing it on something they didn't really know too much about. But they were learning as they were going along. New information was coming to light all the time about the virus. And so the message was changing. So, in that context, it's very understandable why misinformation might have occurred. But then there's disinformation, for example, oil companies denying the existence of human made climate change because they want to continue selling their oil and they don't want to admit to the fact that the oil is causing the climate to change. And that's purposefully spreading false information. Now, conspiracy theories fall under the umbrella of fake news. And most recent one, perhaps, is the idea that the Earth is flat, which is clearly not true. Another one, perhaps a more established one, is the idea that the moon landings were faked. Again, completely not true. And then there are others when, during the time of COVID, people were saying that 5G causes COVID, and it actually led to some of the masts, so the 5G masts being set fire to. And additionally, during the 2020 US presidential election, there was we were being told that it was stolen, and that actually had really serious consequences because it led to the 2021 January the 6th storming of the Capitol, and people actually died during that. So it had really serious consequences. So why is fake news spread? So it could be a genuine mistake. We've already looked at that. It could be to influence public opinion for a political campaign. It could be to purposefully sow division. Quite often, you might hear stories of perhaps foreign countries intervening in countries' sort of elections and things, and really to try to create division within that country. To discredit individuals and institutions, spreading gossip, discrediting big institutions if you're not politically aligned with them, perhaps, and to make money. It makes money. So, how do we spot fake news? Well, it's really about being critical of the news sources that you access to get your information from. So, you need to consider the reliability of the source. Does it have political agenda? Is it sensationalist to gain views? Is it a trustworthy news source? Who's the author? What's their political bias? Who are they? The politician? Are they are they someone else who might kind of make money from purposefully spreading this mistruth? So really, just understanding who that person is. Looking at multiple sources is really crucial for this. You might want to look at multiple sources that have different political agendas. For example, looking at different newspapers, so you get an idea of a more rounded view of an argument, not just single-sided. And also looking for evidence. If you're just going to make claims, you need to back it up with evidence. There was no evidence, for example, that the US election in 2020 was stolen. So looking at reputable sources, and what we're saying here is just look at balanced news sources that cover all sides of an argument. You can do that, but even if you just look at a source that covers one side of an argument, that's fine. But then as long as you're maybe looking at another source that covers the other side of the argument, so you're getting that balance. Often the purpose of fake news can be used to tarnish the reputation of well-established sources by creating that doubt. So if we're being told all different things, you just end up in a position of, I really don't know what to believe anymore. And then you just come to the conclusion that, everyone is as bad as one another. Another aspect is this idea of echo chambers. Now, social media platforms want to keep you on their platform. And the way they do that is when you watch some content, they then share with you other content based on the content you've already watched. So it's going to be very similar to what you've watched. It's because they want to keep you engaged in their platform for as long as they can. So that means you're continuously hearing essentially the same arguments. And so then you become quite entrenched in your view because you're just having your views reinforced by the same views. And this is what the idea of called echo chambers. And the idea is that in echo chambers, people are only seeing the views that are similar to their own. And if you might have different people, for example, on one side of the political spectrum, and you have people on the other side of the political spectrum, this can lead to really strong divisions within our society. What I want you to do now is really just to think about where you get your news from. How can you be sure that the information you read, watch, and listen to is reliable?